Welcome back, everybody, to another Q&A with Dr. J from MyHappyGenes. Hi, Dr. J. How are you today?
Good, GC. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking. So we're going to talk today about something that you used to say, oh, I had a mast cell attack. And I was like, what the heck is a mast cell? And it was pretty bad, whatever it was. So we thought for other people who do know what a mast cell is, or if you don't, but you're going to have some symptoms that Dr. J will describe, we thought you'd like to know more about it. So first of all, what the heck's a mast cell?
That's a good question. I was going to say something funny about a mast on a boat,
I
but I
was
can't.
thinking of a mast cell.
Mast cells are white blood cells, and they're
Oh,
part of our immune system. They're part of the defense against viruses or other invaders. And if our body thinks we're under attack, mast cells can proliferate and then burst and release histamine and prostaglandins, which are inflammatory, and leukotrienes, also inflammatory. This big cascade of reaction happens when mast cells burst, when they're activated, essentially. Certain people are susceptible to mast cell activation syndrome, MCAS is what they call it, or MCAD. I think it's a disease. I think they're calling it a disease as well. But essentially, they're more susceptible to mast cell reactions genetically. And there are certain genetic variants, the HLA genes. These are human leukocyte antigens. And they are actually left over, their residual DNA from Neanderthal. And so our body can cross react to things that are considered healthy or normal. Like for me, it's lettuce. I really have to watch lettuce, which is random, but for some reason it creates a mast cell reaction in my body. And that is not fun because when those histamines and leukotrienes and all that inflammatory stuff happens, it's usually 24 hours later. So it's difficult to pinpoint what you ate and what you reacted to. And finally, I got it figured out that every time I had a salad, a day later, I'd have it starts in the morning with just malaise and then fatigue that is debilitating. Just, oh my God, what does it matter with me? Like at the cellular level. And then it can build up to a massive headache. And for some people, it can create a migraine and sometimes vomiting. It's not fun. So, depending on how sensitive your cells are or how sensitive or what genes you have, you might react differently to different foods. And so it can be very confusing for people. Let's say you have a mast cell reaction to something random that you haven't pinpointed yet, but you have one of those days where I don't know what happens. I just feel so tired. I'm so headachy and so sick. I don't know what it is. And so it can be very confusing to people and it can be very difficult to diagnose. They go to a doctor and the doctor says, I don't know, your blood work's fine. They can even test for mast cell reactions, but if they don't test it on a day when you're reacting, it's
oh,
not going to.
interesting. There, it's
Yeah.
not like floating around in your system waiting to go. Huh.
Yeah. So it can be very tricky to diagnose. So keeping a food journal is one way to really pinpoint this. Keep that, whatever you ate that day, record your symptoms the next day if you suspect that you might have mast cell reactions. And check your genes. Go get your genes tested by MyHappyGenes because you can see those HLA variants, and they are also associated with autoimmune conditions. So you want to make sure that you understand what they do and what the triggers might be for you because that can lead to autoimmune conditions. The HLA, different variants can cause sensitivity to things like peanuts, the anaphylactic shock that some people get, shrimp, peaches, those kind of things. Often those are associated with the HLA variants. And I'd like to do another video on the HLAs because it's a fascinating topic. And it can determine like who your best mate is in life by your HLA patterns. It's fascinating.
Wow. Now, what does HLA stand for?
Human leukocyte antigen. Yeah, it's important to look at the pattern and what your susceptibility is because there are a lot you can do to balance those and reduce the mast cell reactions. For some people, it can be as bad as hives all over their body. I have one patient who just, whenever she gets a mast cell reaction, she breaks out in hives everywhere. And so there are certain nutrients you can do to prevent the overreaction of the HLA genes and the mast cells.
And is always food triggered?
No, that's a good question. Often it can be triggered by viruses. COVID, very much. I just read an article about how the COVID spike protein can activate mast cell reactions too. And that spike protein can remain hidden in the cells and be reactivated. We don't know the future of what's going to happen down the line with this spike protein. It's hard to say. This is it's a
Yeah,
novel
novel
virus.
virus. And it's interesting you said you wouldn't necessarily think something you ate yesterday, but let's just say I know people who have Thursday is pasta night or Friday I go out with my friends and I always have the same. So if you have that kind of thing in your life and then you wake up the next day feeling, oh my gosh, I feel like a train ran over me. Maybe it's related to that. And then you can go back and say, what did I have yesterday? And again, of course, if it's a virus, that's not going to work. But when you said food journaling, it's a good idea if you do get these reactions where you feel like really bad after a certain night, lunch, something.
Right. And you can get there is blood work that you can do, excuse me, that can measure like a delayed sensitivity reaction. A lot of allergy tests only look at sensitivity, like current reaction sensitivities. But the IgEs can be the delayed sensitivities. They're IgGs, they're IgEs, they're IgAs, IgMs. And so some are current reaction and some are delayed sensitivities. And there are companies that actually do test for those so that can sometimes reveal the issue. I'm a muscle tester. And so when I do muscle testing and I put the HLA vial on somebody and then test their foods, I can see which ones are going to be delayed
Hmm,
sensitivity, which ones are okay.
that's so
Mm,
cool.
yeah,
This
but
stuff is
it's a big,
also cool to me. I don't know. People listening, I'm so fascinating by what we have learned, like the scientific information that's being, of course, it changes every day, but what you've been able to study over the years and marry that with the actual genes of somebody that don't change, but right. And then you read something new and it's this affects that. And once you get your genes tested, it's even more fun because then you can read something and go, oh my gosh, I have that. Now this makes sense.
yeah, I agree. And in the interactive chart that we have talked about, and let me just show the static version of it, if I may. It's really cool. And anybody can really purchase it. It's fine. But you would click on a balloon and it'll open up and it'll say, oh, this vitamin D receptor does this. And it's all science-based. It's all backed by research. And these are the things that help it work better, or these are the foods that you need to avoid. And so it's something that people can learn. They can learn a lot about themselves. When they get their gene report, they can start to look at, do I have that gene variant? Oh, that may be why I'm anxious. Or I have that gene variant. This may be why I have allergic reactions. Or a lot of the topics that we've been talking about, they can start to learn how to work with it themselves a little bit by looking at the interactive chart.
How long did it take you to make that?
Many years. And in fact, as I learn more, I'll add more to it. So it's an ongoing project. And it was for me really, because I have very little brain.
I doubt that's true.
I have a very short memory. And so this really is a good memory aid for me. And I learn a lot from just staring at it and then putting in new pieces or reading articles and putting those in place. And then I
Mhm.
remember them. So it's helpful.
Visual aids, some people are visual, auditory. We all learn and retain information in different ways or access information in different ways.
Too true.
And maybe we'll talk about how we learn one day, because I do remember that there is a gene component to how we learn.
There is. And there are genes associated with dyslexias and learning disorders that it doesn't mean a person is dumb by any means. They just learn differently, as you're saying.
Is there a gene for left or right-handedness?
I don't know. That's a good question. I haven't run
If
across that one yet. I'll have to
anybody
look.
knows who's watching this video, pop it in the chat down below in the comments so you can educate us. As soon as we get off here, I'm going to go look it up, right?
I will too.
All right, everybody, we'll be back again with another episode of Q&A with Dr. J. Thanks so much for listening, and do share if you find these valuable. Take care, Dr. J.
Thanks, GC.
Bye.